Howdy everybody. It is that time of the year again where we get to start talking about football. So, it's week 1 coming up in college football, so I'm going to try my best to do a weekly kind of overview of the games for the Big 12, which is the conference I care most about, and some other notable games, right? If there's any one team you want me to kind of highlight over in particular every week, please let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to include them. Most of my experience and skill set is in the Big 12 because that's what I've been involved with for 4 years now, 6 years really, but if there's others, I can definitely start learning about them. So I'm going to get into it, same style as last year. Use this website that gives some of the odds across different sports books for the different games, and we're just going to go in order of the Big 12 games by when they play, so play time. So I'm going to switch over to the other screen here, and here it is. So the Big 12 has recently added 4 new teams, so the league is getting quite large, and hopefully it's not the normal trend that there'll be games on Thursdays and Fridays, because personally I don't care too much for it, but I'm sure my opinion will change as I get to watch more of them. So, starting off Thursday, we have at 6 p.m. Central, UCF Knights versus New Hampshire Wildcats. I imagine most of these games in the first 4 weeks, are going to be pretty easy to estimate. Excuse me. Soft speaking really makes me yawn. So, of course, these first games playing non-conference teams, and they're the paid games, so usually they're looking to be quite a blowout unless there's some notable games. But UCF, as you can see here, 41.5 point favorite, 41 point favorite. So that's kind of crazy, especially even for a non-conference game. But if you don't know how to read these numbers, I made a video on how to, intro to sports betting basics, just so you can understand what these numbers mean and stuff. I'll put that up above in the video here if you want to watch that, but kind of run through it here too. So obviously there's not much to analyze with some of these games. UCF is probably gonna just dust these people, and I don't know enough about most of these non-conference teams to try to guess the point spread. If I had to guess UCF at home, I'd take the points, but 41 is a lot of points. So there's that. The next game an hour later on Thursday is Lindenwood versus the Jayhawks. Again, another massive point spread, even bigger than the UCF game. Obviously going to take Kansas to win. That's why there's no money line bets. But I don't know how bad Lindenwood is, so there's that. But I don't think, just based on principle, I could ever place a minus 45.5 point bet. And just to preface this, if you're not into betting, whatever your stance is on betting, I totally get it. This is not actual betting advice. This is just what I think. I'm not actually putting money on these games, so don't follow it if you're thinking about it. Make your own decisions. Colorado, North Dakota State versus Colorado at the same time as the Kansas game. I am a big hater of Colorado. The coach there, Coach Prime, has been a very interesting character since starting, and I'm not a huge fan of him. I don't really care for the school. Not too happy that they joined the Big 12, but it is what it is. This one's a closer game, 9 to 10 point spread, and I mean, I think they're going to win, but I think it would be hilarious if they lose to North Dakota State. Next up, an hour later, still on Thursday, our last Thursday game is Southern Utah versus Utah. Utah is another new school to the conference, and I don't know anything really about them, and I don't know if Southern Utah is a rivalry for them at all, or if this is a big game at all. It doesn't look like it based on the point spread, but yeah. I'd take Utah. Here we go. Temple on Friday at 6 versus Oklahoma Sooners. That's why this is... I knew I had an extra game. Oklahoma's not in our conference anymore. I'm not even going to worry about them. So, Friday at 9:30, a night game. TCU at Stanford. So, an away game here. And this is another closer game, only 9.5 points. I don't know anything about Stanford. I know they're an alright school. They're not great by any means, but I don't know much about TCU. After their Cinderella run, they lost everybody, or a lot of the people didn't do nearly as good, and it's kind of where I sit with them. They're a mid-range to low-range Big 12 team, and I think they can take on a non-conference person, though. Now this, the game of the weekend for Big 12, I believe. Penn State versus West Virginia, big rivalry. This is a huge game. It's always exciting to watch. Penn State favored by 8.5, but I mean, this is one of those games where you can't really put a number on it. Obviously they did. They're in agreement. Their algorithms in Vegas told them this is a good number, but anything can happen in a rivalry game like this. This game is consistently exciting, and I definitely hope to tune in and watch it, listen to it, something like that. This is our Saturday morning game, so I will be in the tailgate lots for the Iowa State game, which is at 2:30, so I can pull this up on my phone and keep track of it that way. But if you want to watch good football, good college football this weekend, this is one of the few games, I believe, that would be a very good watch, hopefully. Can't promise anything, but this has traditionally been a very good game. South Dakota State versus Oklahoma State. South Dakota State's a pretty good team for an FCS school, so they're only an underdog by 9.5 points. Oklahoma State's alright. They're always hit or miss, it seems, as of lately. They're about to be a great powerhouse school, and then they kind of just fall short. But very interesting matchup here. I think it'll be a good game, hopefully. Hopefully not a blowout either way. I just learned that someone I knew growing up was on South Dakota State, so that was an interesting thing I just learned recently, but good for them. I don't know if they're still on it, but another new school. No, can't remember. Cincinnati's not new. They came last year. They're newer, but another big blowout type game against Towson. This is the team. I have a Big 12 Survivor Pool League going, where you have to pick a team each week, and if they lose, you are out. If they win, you move on to the next week, and the catch is that if you pick a team once, you can't choose that team again for the rest of the season. So, my pick this week is Cincinnati. Favored by 30, 31. I'm really hoping they don't blow this, but I don't see them doing that. So hopefully I don't bite my words on that one. My big game, not really big game, but my school. So it'll be interesting to watch. North Dakota at Iowa State. Again, another big point spread, so should be a fairly easy game for Iowa State. But it'll be fun to watch the players. I always love seeing the first couple weeks, seeing the new players that have come in, kind of who's changed up and things like that. But of course, next week Iowa State plays the Iowa Hawkeyes, or one of our big rivals, our in-state rival, and traditionally in our first week game, so this one, we don't do too much, so we don't show Iowa anything. So it's a less of an exciting game and more of just a nice to have football back game. Alright, UNLV versus Houston. I don't know much about Houston at all. Not football-wise, I know their basketball team. UNLV, Iowa State got the joy to play, go to Vegas and play them a couple years ago. And this is only a 2.5 3-point game, so I don't know enough about either of these teams to really speak on it. and I think that's going to be the trend, unfortunately, most of the season. I don't know much about any of the 4 new schools, so apologies there. Even some of these new, but not the most new schools, like Houston. So, moving on, we've got Kansas State. Tennessee Martiners coming to Kansas State. Another big blowout game. Really not much to cover on here. I swear there is a car that comes by every time I hit the record button. Anyways, like I was saying, if you want to take a 37-point spread, you can. I don't like touching any of these non-conference games. Something like this. I mean, there's barely any sports books putting out lines for this one, so I wouldn't touch it. Saturday evening. The rest of these games are on Saturday. That's the big game day. But Baylor, I think they could be good this year. They're always decent. I think they have a better shot of being more than decent this year, but only time will tell. The Red Raiders, same thing. I think they're probably, if there is a sleeper team for the Big 12, not that they're going to go off and win. I think Kansas State and Utah got that handled. But a sleeper team to do better than expected is going to be Texas Tech. Obviously not touching this point spread either. Southern Illinois at BYU. So we get more Mormon action. They've always been a fun team to watch, BYU has, so I'm glad to see them in our conference. But yeah, could be a fun game, 14-point spread. It's always a weird number. Very pivotal number when betting point spreads in football, so we'll see. It's hard to beat BYU in their home, especially as a FCS team. Coming up here at the end, we've got Wyoming at Arizona State, so another new school. These last two are the Arizona schools. ASU favored by 7 about, and I don't know much about them. I know Wyoming's traditionally fun to watch in some of their they're usually the late night game that I'll throw on sometimes when most of the other big games that I care about are over. They're kind of like the games you throw on when you fall asleep, so they've been fun to watch. I don't know much about Arizona State though. Finally, the New Mexico Lobos versus Arizona. I don't know anything about Arizona either. Obviously they're either really good or New Mexico is really bad, and I'm going to go with the latter on that one. So, very late game, 9:30. And finally, always got to talk about the Hawkeyes. At the end of the day, I'll support Iowa teams, and I have some Illinois State ties, so cool to see both of these, but I don't think Illinois State's going to be able to do anything really against Iowa. It will be interesting to see Iowa play, if you've been following Iowa at all, which I know is a very small possibility, but being an in-state school, I've been following them a bit, and they've got a quarterback dilemma going on, and just a head coaching, it's always dramatic over there, so it'll be interesting to see who plays and how everything unfolds. But with that, that's the preview for the weekend of college football week 1. So a little bit of a slow start to the college football season, and I'm not sure if there are any big name games outside of the Big 12. So if there are and you're looking at some exciting ones to watch this weekend, please let me know so I can keep tabs on those as well. But yeah, the analysis will get better as we get into conference play and some of the games get a little bit more exciting. But I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week for more of these. Otherwise, you can stay tuned for the regularly scheduled ASMR videos. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you soon.